Hello, welcome back to another episode on Red Foxy. If you like what you see, please like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on new content.
Vindictive ex-wife illegally signed application to local HOA in my name. I'll start this off by saying my ex is vindictive as hell. We've been fully divorced since about right before the pandemic started. We sold the house we shared and I didn't have to pay her alimony because she cheated and we're in an at-fault state. It was messy since D-Day. All of the stereotypes. First the sobbing and then trickle truth saying I love you. It was just one time. Okay, it was 2 years. And then the gaslighting followed by I'm going to take you for everything. Before packing her SHT and walking out. I feel like I never really knew the woman my ex was in all the time we were together. We were married 5 years and together for 7. And in 2 of those 5 married years she had affairs with 3 other men. The final one being a foreign businessman of some sort from what I could find out. Yes, I got tested for STDs and was thankfully negative. Yes, she got pregnant by the final AP, and no, I didn't sign the birth certificate because I found out about the all affairs before the baby was born, thanks to a call from the first AP. My ex tried to go full scorched earth on me. But since we live in and were married in an at-fault state, she lost. We didn't pay equally into our house, and the equity was divided 70-30. So I got a pretty good cash payout when I sold our marital home to put as a down payment on a different house closer to my job. It's a bit of a downgrade. But suits a single guy in his 30s like me just fine. My ex did show up to my house once. But I refused to let her in. She beached at me that I'd financially ruined her in the divorce. I said that if she was fully willing to do that to me first, and the BTCH had the audacity to say it should have been my life effed over, and not hers. I laughed so hard and said it was karma. She yelled that she'd sue me for what was rightfully hers. I said if she was gonna sue me, then to go ahead and sue me. It'd end up the same way in court because she has nothing but a false story. She was the cheater, not me. I'm no angel, but I didn't do anything to her. And she was the one who ruined our marriage. She then said she'd tell everyone she could that I abused her. I said I'd sue her for defamation if she did, and I was recording our interaction and had those words saved to my phone. She went wide-eyed and her jaw dropped. The look people are calling the surprised Pikachu face. Then I asked why she was there, if not to just try and make trouble. Because she had a new man in her life that knocked her up. She just huffed at me and said he isn't around much, and she's stuck in a tiny apartment living off his child support till he comes back. It was immature of me, I know, but I did the bit of playing the world's smallest violin. She yelled at me to go FCK myself, and I yelled back that I'd sooner do that than her any time. She raged at me and then got in her car to leave. Haven't seen her since. There is an HOA in my neighborhood. But I was not legally obligated to join it because the last owner of my house was not a member. I made sure of that through a real estate lawyer as well. The HOA had no grounds to force me to join, and were not happy about it. The HOA president would show up with forms every week for the first month demanding I sign them. Then she threatened to take me to court. To which I had to get a can sent to her from my lawyer to make her stop that. So she started harassing me by looking for any infractions she possibly could to report to the city. An inspector came out several times and found nothing wrong. In fact, I offered one of them a burger while grilling, and they graciously accepted. Did I mention the HOA hates barbecues and parties that aren't approved in advance? Well, they do. And I like to grill when the weather is good. And my neighbors actually love me for it because I invite them over. I had the police called on me several times for noise complaints because I was playing music on a Saturday afternoon while having my friends over. The HOA president I caught trespassing once when she was trying to peer into my windows. I called the police, but she denied ever doing it. So I got cameras. She hasn't trespassed since. But I still got repeated passive-aggressive letters saying my cameras were not an approved addition to my house. Some months ago I started getting letters for fines in the mail. And when I contacted the HOA, their representative claimed they had it on record that I'd joined, and needed to pay all fees effective immediately. I told them that was not possible. Then they emailed a scanned copy of the forms, and they had a signature on them. But it was not mine. It was very similar in some ways, and I recognized right away as being my ex's handwriting. She knew what my signature looked like. But it was a loose imitation at best. I got in touch with a lawyer right away over the forged signature. But the HOA still demanded to go to court. And it took 7 months before that happened. Meanwhile, they were stacking unpaid fines against me weekly, and were threatening to put a lien on my house. We went to court and the HOA president looked very smug. But my lawyer pointed out how the signature wasn't the same as mine, and was very inconsistent in the various forms. I'd never allowed the HOA president in my house, and I'd never requested the forms. The idiot Hoa president actually slammed her palm on the table and said it was still binding. But when pressed where the fraudulent signature came from, she admitted my ex-wife called the Hoa and they sent her the forms, then got them back in the mail signed. But then she actually claimed she'd thought I'd signed them. The judge looked at her and asked if she was serious. She confirmed she was. The judge then asked how a woman I was no longer married to, that had never even lived with me in my current residence, was supposed to have any bearing on whether or not I joined her Hoa. She went quiet and I could see the look on her face as the hamster wheels were turning, and she seemed to finally mentally put the pieces together. My lawyer then counterclaimed that what the Hoa did was blatant fraud, and legal actions must be taken. And they were. I countersued the Hoa for the emotional distress of the harassment I'd gotten since moving in. Which I had lots of proof of. That won me about 10 grand after lawyer fees that I decided to put towards my mortgage. The Hoa president was removed from her throne. I like to think she was kicking and screaming. She was also slapped with a hefty fine. I've seen her outside a few times, and she always looks at me like I am the devil. The Hoa itself had to pay all of my legal fees too. I wanted to go after my ex for forging my signature. But can't, because not long after she forged my signature on those forms, she apparently left the country to be with her third AP. She's somewhere in Europe from what I can see of the final posts on her FB before she disappeared. So I can't do anything against her unless she ever returns to the US. So that was a wash. I'm not getting letters from the Hoa anymore though. And the new president has promised to keep things completely cordial from now on. I still don't feel like I got much of a win in this though. Other than the 10K payout, it all felt like a huge waste of time. Story 2. My sister-in-law wanted us to sleep together. For some context, she's living with us including our child. We're never alone, but today I couldn't join my wife in going to church, so we were alone this time. I suppose she figured that now was the time to shoot her shot. She asked if she could talk with me, and so we talked. First, she thanked me for letting her stay with us. The discussion progressed, and she told me that she had feelings for me for a while, but always knew she couldn't do anything about it. She said taking her in showed that I really cared about our family, and she developed stronger feelings for me. She asked me if I ever wondered if I wanted her to take care of me. I was confused by what she meant exactly, and I told her to explain what she meant by that. She said that if I ever wanted to sleep with her, and now that we're alone, we could. I shut that down, and told her point blank no. What is she thinking, and if she thinks I'm that kind of person? She apologized and said that she's sorry, and that she just wanted to let me know how she was feeling. She began getting a little emotional and saying to not tell my wife. It was an awkward moment, so I said I wouldn't. The question remains what to do next. I don't think this was a test by my wife. She's not that type of person, and it felt too real by my sister-in-law to think that it was. I'm also not a cheater, and so I would never entertain something so damaging to my wife in marriage. The other thing is that my sister-in-law would have nowhere to go if I tell my wife about this and she decides to kick her out. Despite the situation, I'm sympathetic to people and I've always tried to help when I can. There's two options. I either tell my wife, or I don't, and I'm not sure which one to take as of now.